Yes, I can.
Okay. All right, great. So we are here today, Aaryan versus Kaloyan. I'm here with Giovanni Scambia, who is an Italian mental calculator who's competed at the Italian national competition several times. Okay. And all right, so we have nice to see you. Hope everything's going well. Giovanni competed in season 1 and had a strong performance, or season 2 and had a strong performance. Okay, so we are off. I hope you can see the questions well enough to read what they're doing. We've had so far it's just been a few multi-operation questions, which makes it look like this is unfortunately a fast match here. These have been all multi-operation questions. All right, Giovanni. Well, what was do you have some thoughts on the Calculation League season? How it went?
Well, very enjoyable. I like the design. I like the challenge, and matches can be competitive. Of course, if someone is clearly better than you, unless they have a bad day, you don't stand a chance. But that makes sense. But it's a nice format. You get to, well, I'm no expert, but I get the feeling there's a kind of Asian, well, not attitude, Asian talent in more maybe the Soroban technique. So it gives them an advantage on adding lots of numbers. And then there's, I don't know, well, special cases like Wenzel or other European guys. And it's nice to see this in action.
Yeah, Wenzel and Kaloyan have they have a very, very unique ability to visualize numbers. They also obviously have great speed, and they are very experienced. They have a background solving a wide variety of questions. But I think what makes it what's most difficult for somebody to do to try to match them is that visualization. Like if it's too difficult to work with large numbers because you can't remember them, it makes it's a huge obstacle to overcome. The Soroban competitors certainly have a better visualization technique. Okay, so Kaloyan has a fifth root plus a sixth root, which I don't. This looks extremely difficult. Some of our questions are, especially on finals mode, some of the questions become maybe too difficult for possibly anyone. Although Wenzel, Aaryan, and Kaloyan are so incredible, you never know. Yeah, this has definitely been a fast match. Unfortunately, that was not what I was hoping for here today. But yeah, so on a multi-operation question like what's on Kaloyan's screen right now, this is rather tough. But when you try to solve these questions, and I asked the same question to Domenico about a week ago, how would you try to multiply a series of 2-digit numbers together? Are you doing like A times B and then the product times C and then the product times D? Or are you going to combine like A and B, multiply them, and then combine C and D, multiply them, and then try to do...
I have to do them one by one because I wouldn't be able to remember the product of AB and then CD. And what I try and do is try and choose them so the easiest ones are at the end, because otherwise I get lost. Say I have times 32 at the end, I might try and leave that at the end because I know I just need to double, and maybe I can manage to do that even if it's a large number.
So, and I don't know, maybe you have thoughts on this, but when Domenico said he actually couples them and then remembers them, but I think Domenico's visualization is a little bit better than mine because I would do it your way, but I typically try to save the hardest one for last, and then I start with like the second hardest and then the third hardest, because when I get to the end, I can type the answer as I'm going, and I don't need to sort of remember it. So like, yeah. So I would start with the second. I would start with the second hardest one, and then do easier, and then keep the hardest one. Okay. Aaryan has a very difficult question here. That the cube root of a large number minus a cube. I have no ability to attempt to solve that. Okay, 36 square root of 36 minus the fourth root of square 36 plus the fifth root 36. Do you have much experience doing roots? Are you comfortable with square and cube roots?
Well, with squaring a bit, but with cube roots not so much. You know, I talked to Domenico. He told me he knows the cubes of two-digit numbers basically, and I guess that helps when you want to do the cube root. But I don't have that knowledge.
Yeah,
I have improved this season in square roots because I realized some techniques I didn't know can be quite helpful. But still. So the score is
41 to 29 Aaryan. And this is unfortunately looking like a very, very fast match. They're having a quite high percentage of multi-operation questions. Yeah, it's there's very little. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but it's definitely high multi-operation percentage. Just to be clear, so you may or may not realize this, the median amount of like non-multi-operation questions is 37% for this season, but it ranges. It selects when the match starts. It selects a random number between 17 and 57, and that is the percentage for the match. But that is actually the percentage of questions for a large set, and then you only obviously get through a small subset of those questions. So in practice, you could actually have 10% or 65 or 70%, just because you only solve a subset of them. Yeah. Okay, so Kaloyan now has that cube root minus a number cubed. Let's see if he. Yeah, that's a plausible question to solve. Neither one of them got it, although it looks like they were answering a relatively. Uh-oh. Okay, Kaloyan's put in 4 guesses on this one.
Yeah.
Now he didn't get it. That's surprising. So we have 6 minus 3 points. I'm not going to embarrass myself and try to solve it. Okay, so 8.5 minutes in, it is 55 to 38. They are going fast. Yeah, it's an easy question set. Aaryan has factor 59, 12, 38. Do you have do you factor numbers? Do you have practice with that, or are you?
Well, only with small factors. Otherwise, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, and I think that's generally true. I'm not sure that if any. I mean, sometimes for Wenzel, Aaryan, and Kaloyan, they seem to factor numbers that don't have small factors, and I really actually don't know if there is any sort of technique other than guess and check. I mean, there are divisibility checks obviously for certain numbers, but I'm not sure if there's
I'm not sure that often, you need a bit of luck. If it's close to a square, it could be, I don't know, like 624. you know, it's 26 times 24. So if you spot it's very near to a square and the difference is a square, you can do that. But I guess that's very rare.
That's very rare, yeah. Okay, so we've hit 10 minutes. Aaryan is up 19 now. No, he just got it in. Okay.
Because against Wenzel, he was 20 minutes and a half, if I remember well.
Yes, it was 20 minutes and a half. That match was a little bit. That match was on the slower side. It was a relatively difficult set of questions, and yeah. So I think you competed several times in the Italian national event, and I think this is your first significant experience with like competitors outside of Italy. What kind of like what kind of thoughts do you have, or what did you learn, or what kind of impressions do like the younger competitors make on you, or
Well, I have to say,
yeah.
Nate, sometimes I think I wish I had these chances when I was younger, because I think I had a better chance of improving by, you know, learning techniques and stuff. But in a way, I think it's great for them to have this opportunity, which is simple because, you know, you're on your computer and you can play against people at the other side of the world to an extremely high level. And then you can see all these new different question types and sometimes you happen to say, oh, I didn't know I could solve this, but you know, you do improve some things that at first look impossible. After maybe discussing with other players, you realize, oh, actually, I have a chance at doing this. And also, it's nice to see how, you know, different players have kind of different abilities.
Yes, and I hope we can continue expanding the type of questions that are in the competition, and adding more and more variety to it. It's really, I think it makes it a lot more interesting when you're constantly being challenged to work on something new, and you know, trying to figure out what your weaknesses are and where you can improve is very helpful for the younger competitors especially, but for everybody. And you know, it's a lot more interesting than trying to do, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 tasks over and over and over and over and over. Okay, so Kaloyan has the 59, 12, 38 factor, the 6-digit number, and okay,
And I
so
have 23, if I remember what Aaryan types. I mean, spotting 23, it's like, I guess it's
yeah,
not that far in the list, but still.
yeah, it's tough. It's
So 40 points behind.
yeah, 93 to 53, 13 and a half minutes. Aaryan there is a stretch coming up here where I think there are a number of easy questions, and Aaryan's lead dramatically increased. I think Kaloyan is going to get to that stretch soon. But these questions are, this really looks like the easiest finals match we've had. And
well, 100.
yeah, he's already hit 100. So he's got a 5x8 multiplication.
Well,
Yeah, about 10 seconds, but yeah, it's a little bit. He's got to click the left key on the keyboard to move.
Also, I wonder if I mean, from what I understand, in Asia, in Japan or India, there's a bit of a culture of, you know, if there's a talented kid, to push them to the limit. I don't know if this happens in Europe. I don't know if Wenzel or other guys are self-taught or have actually, you know, have people help them develop their talent.
I mean,
Or-
I think Wenzel and Kaloyan are certainly, for the most part, self-taught, especially Wenzel. Kaloyan, there's a longtime Bulgarian competitor, Georgi, who I think helped Kaloyan to some extent when he was younger. Yeah, there's so little activity and community, and it's so we are already these uh, shocking. These are it's abnormally easy set of questions here. So let's see if Colleen can actually decrease this gap. But yeah, Aaryan is already at 113 in 15 minutes or so. And at this point, I suspect Colleen is sort of frustrated, sort of a little bit, frustrated that he's got a set of very easy questions again, and he's probably aware of what the score is, and it definitely makes it hard to compete. I think when when I know when I had my match against Aaryan, I don't know how you felt about your match against Aaryan, but it feels like hopeless from the beginning. Like I even when it started, if it was like a higher difficulty question that I probably could have solved, I was like, what? It's I'm not even going to put in the effort. This is going to be over.
Well, Domenico sent me his stats, so he showed me that he beat Aaryan on one question.
Oh, really?
It was one where the answer was 0.
Oh, interesting.
It was a reflex, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I find amazing is that these top players can beat you on the really easy questions too, because it's like you think that maybe on the times table you'd be similar, but they're faster on that as well.
Yes. Yeah, I mean it's not like I've seen some of those online games, and there are people out there who are like could beat Aaryan or Wenzel on like a super easy arithmetic test of like very basic questions, just but they certainly have extremely high reaction time and just overall processing speed. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, to find anything that you sort of have an advantage in. Yeah, so Aaryan is up 54. We are getting close to 18 minutes, so which means unfortunately we have this is it's going to be 20 minutes or not much longer than that. And these questions are Aaryan may end up here. I think he's looks like he's going to be on pace to set a new highest score for this season. This is how fortunately easy the questions have been. Which I think the most points in the match this season is 136. I
guess you also need to see the record in 20 minutes only.
Right, and he's definitely past it. I think maybe Wenzel had 125, but yeah, these questions have been quite easy. Which is I do think going forward we're gonna try to figure out how to make sure that there are more interesting questions without creating a situation where it becomes too difficult for many people, which is a lot of those interesting questions are extremely difficult. All right, so as we're getting ready here, it looks like we have about 30 seconds left, unfortunately, with this very, very short match here. Any thoughts or any final comments here?
Well, this was supposed to be, if you accept Aaryan and Wenzel, this was supposed to be the closest match, probably.
Yeah, and I think absent if we had a high difficulty set questions, it might have been a much more interesting score. But yeah, it's with the high multi operation. Okay, hold on.